Pairing a roguelike formula with space exploration, cloning, shipbuilding and first-person combat sounds pretty damn great. It's an exciting concept on paper, however, Genesis Alpha 1 unfortunately really manages to miss the mark in numerous crucial areas. After the collapse of Earth, the game pits you in the shoes of the captain of a ship looking to find a new home for humanity and other forms of life. The game allows the player to seamlessly jump between top-down shipbuilding and first-person exploration and combat. Beginning the game, you'll pick a corporation which offers varying different starting benefits such as different weapons, buildings or artifacts. You'll then form your initial crew from a selection of around 10 different species, beginning with humans, each with their own positives and negatives such as health, intelligence and damage resistance. These species must first be uncovered and unlocked by successfully colonising a planet with over half of your colony containing that species. The game actually does a fairly decent job of explaining each of the building mechanics and systems via regular tooltips and prompts. Whilst there is actually a tutorial on offer to ease you into the game, in my opinion, jumping right in offered a far more engaging experience. In fact, the first hour or so with the game's tutorial completely soured me on the experience. After beginning a new playthrough with my own custom starting selections and throwing myself into the deep end, I quickly picked up the game's mechanics and I found it a far more enjoyable experience overall. You can build and improve your ship at any point when on board, with a single button press. Doing so takes you to a top-down perspective of the ship, where you can view your current resources and select different rooms to construct. The rooms are constructed instantly, and the process of building out your ship is surprisingly unrestrictive. Forge your own corridor paths and elevators to create multiple floors. This straightforward but open-ended approach to the shipbuilding should be applauded. It works well here. Each room provides a key purpose too. The greenhouse allows you to house various plants, making the ship's atmosphere suitable for varying onboard life forms. The tractor beam lets you collect resources from space debris. The hangar allows you to send a shuttle down to planets and gather resources and discover artifacts. And the refinery lets you refine the ore that you collect from those planets into usable materials. There is a whole bunch of rooms on offer here, each with a unique purpose that complements other areas of the ship. In first person, you can explore and interact with your ship as you choose. Exploring your creation is admittedly pretty satisfying, and interacting with the terminals in each room, however, isn't so much. Outside of managing staff, each one basically boils down to holding a single button whilst a bar fills the screen to complete the activity. Whether it's beaming up space debris, scanning planets, cloning new crew members or crafting weapons, it's all just a single button press and a slow bar. Thankfully, however, you can assign members of the crew to do this busy work for you. Each crew member can be assigned to a room to carry out the activity automatically, such as scanning planets nearby or refining the ore into usable materials. Your ship's bots automatically transfer those materials to the appropriate locations too, such as unloading your shuttle into a deposit storage or bringing heaps of ore to the refinery for your crew members to work on it. It gives the game's ship management side of things almost like a real-time strategy vibe, and it's something which I really enjoyed. The game's multiple systems at play on your ship work surprisingly well together. Robots and crew members just crack on with their jobs without much intervention from the player. It brings back some fond memories of the bygone PC gaming era when developers were trying to build real-time strategy games with first-person elements, such as Command & Conquer Renegade or Savage. Those games hold a special place in my nostalgic heart. Unfortunately though, the game almost falls apart when it comes to the mechanical side of actually playing it. Whilst the ship management side of things works well, the first person combat certainly does not. Aiming and movement feels completely floaty and weightless. Shooting is unsatisfying no matter which weapon you use, whether it's a shotgun, machine gun or laser rifle. All of them are just well and truly lacking in any kind of punch. Moving from side to side to avoid projectiles or even just kiting basic enemies feels all too basic here, whilst you hold a single button to lock on and shoot. There's just no real depth, there's no capacity for skill, there's no recoil to manage or feeling of impact. It just doesn't even remotely feel good in a world where solid feeling FPS combat is pretty much the norm these days. It's an area of the game which should feel great. Fighting aliens on unknown planets or battling to defend your ship from invaders, these should be memorable highlights. Instead, they're just dull and often frustrating thanks to an absolutely gross flinch when your character's been hit. Exploring those planets is a huge disappointment too. It became quickly apparent that every planet you visit involves the exact same loop. Your ship parks in the centre of a small circular area that you can walk around, whether it's filled with plants, dust or rocks. There's very little to see on each planet. They're all mostly flat, small areas, granted some have ever so slight declines, with alternate window dressing. There's no hills to roam or civilizations to uncover, it's just a circle area with a green boundary containing some rocks to mine, again done by holding a single button and waiting for a bar to fill, whilst enemies occasionally spawn and head towards you. Even the planets which contain discoveries amount to nothing more than finding a point and standing next to it until the scanning reaches 100%, allowing you to collect the item. These collectible items are locations of alien and plant life, suit upgrades or new weapons. Sadly, there's just no sense of exploration here whatsoever. Whilst it's clear the planets are randomly generated, there's far too little variety. Graphically, the game has a clean 70s sci-fi visual style. It looks sharp and it runs at 60 FPS on the enhanced consoles, which is nice. Sadly though, that retro aesthetic often swings a little too far into the realm of feeling cheap and low budget rather than unique. The roguelike elements mentioned earlier come upon death. As you explore the randomly generated solar system, the further out from the centre you go, the more chance of danger there is. Whether it's tougher enemies on the planets themselves or roaming bands of aliens which actually teleport directly onto your ship and cause absolute havoc. They just keep coming. Once you die, you're quickly transported into the shoes of another clone from your ship's crew. Don't worry though, those crews are completely replaceable. You can create a clone of a species of your choice, embedding any alien abilities or bonuses that you've uncovered and researched. It's a neat idea that works well. If all of your crew perish, then it's game over. Any artifacts that you uncovered on your way can be selected for your future playthroughs, and slowly but surely you'll unlock more corporations and species of crew to start with to spice things up somewhat. Sadly however though, Genesis Alpha 1 doesn't provide a satisfying enough gameplay loop to really keep you wanting to come back for more playthroughs. Each playthrough can take hours of often slow progress, farming resources and building up your basic facilities to reach the more challenging later game aspects. Sure, there's other species to uncover, but outside of some statistical benefits, they're mostly not all that different apart from in appearance. And sure, there's more weapons to research and build, but again, the combat feels so feeble that none of them are enjoyable to use. There's some really cool ideas at play here. The base building side of the game works great. It's straightforward, it's simple to use, and it's fun to experiment with. But many other core pillars of the game have unfortunate major issues. The combat is poor and the space exploration is lacking. Co-op would have been a brilliant addition to alleviate some of the more dull elements of the game. It makes a whole lot of sense too, with your crew being filled with drone-like clones. Defending a ship with a friend might have made things a little more exciting, and carrying out the ship's busy work would feel like less of a chore. No, it wouldn't solve the game's mechanical issues, but it would have certainly helped to make the experience more enjoyable overall. Alas, the game is currently a purely single player experience. Genesis Alpha 1 isn't a completely bad game. There's glimpses of something unique and genuinely interesting under the weak combat and often repetitive gameplay loop. As a base, it feels like a title that could evolve into something great, given enough time and resources. As it stands though, it's hard to recommend the game right now. Be sure to like, share and subscribe for more content like this.